Welcome to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hey guys, Baby Joel here. Guess what? Last week, I received a letter from the older version of myself. I don't know why he sent the letter. Sorry, bigger me. I ate it.
I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where they say you write a letter to your younger self. Well, that's what younger self does to letters that are written to the younger self. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. The show is aired all around the world. Those of you who are watching live, you know who you are. Those who are watching alive, but not live, you know who you are. Because if you're watching live, you can go to the QR code above and or you're live and you can see the link tree of the show. You can meet all the other folks that have been interviewed on the show over the year or so. And also for those who are live, you can write in with your questions. Today, we're going to be talking with Tony Weeks, who is, when you see him, you'll recognize him. He was a boxing referee. America has produced many great referees throughout the history of boxing. And I believe, and I think historians let us know, that Tony Weeks stands with the very best in boxing history. His remarkable career has spanned 3 decades, from 1994 to 2024, and during which he became a familiar face in some of the greatest sports battles in the ring. And he's admired for his composure, his fairness, his ability to handle the intensity of the ring without overshadowing the fighters. That's a huge compliment to Tony Weeks. Anyway, his presence has always brought a sense of order and respect to the sport. A few referees could manage high drama championship clashes with the same calm authority that he's displayed. So when boxing fans discuss Tony Weeks, his best performances, they may recall his role in the epic 2005 showdown between Diego Corrales and José Luis Castillo, widely regarded as one of the greatest fights in modern boxing history. So we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a referee, what he's looking for in a fighter who is almost has no more gas left in the tank, but yet has trained for a year for this fight, and Tony doesn't want to pull the plug. It's just very fascinating. I think you're going to really learn a lot, whether you like boxing or not. Just the drama of being in the ring with some of the greatest athletes that are in any sport, just the regimen that boxers go through to be in that ring at a world championship level. So looking forward to talking to Tony in just a few. As you know, I've written some songs. My first album's coming out in a couple of months. It's called Mischief Maker. I guess it's the name of the show. And the song today we're going to be listening to is a song I wrote probably about 2 years ago, and it's called Hurricane Bigotry. So Mel, let's go straight to that music video.
At 10 years of age, a young black man heard the words that sting. As years passed, he leaned into the wind like Howlin' Wolf and B.B. King. Different rules apply based on skin. A broken world, where do we begin? His lens altered, a new reality found. Injustice and prejudice seen all around. Yet he chose to rise amidst the storm's roar, finding strength within like never before. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Like Katrina's fury, with its wrath untamed, he faced adversity, yet remained unchained. Like Andrew's power, destructive and fierce, but his spirit endured, never to pierce. Through the years he learned to navigate the tempest of bias, fueled by hate. Leaning into the wind with steadfast grace, his equilibrium intact in life's race. In the eye of the storm he found the truth, resilience and hope his guiding sloop. Hurricane bigotry may rage and shout, but his spirit endures, there's no doubt. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Against the winds revealing.
Well, that's a song that I wrote because I'd met a gentleman who likened when he first heard the N word I think he was 6 or 7 years of age. When he first talked to his parents about it, he said he felt like hurricane force winds coming against him. And of course, we know that wind gets a name at a sustained speed of about 75 miles per hour. And so that story, that narrative, that experience touched me so greatly that I ended up writing this song, the lyrics to this song, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's bring on our guest, Tony Weeks, and I met Tony at the Fighters Heaven, which is the training camp for Muhammad Ali, and he was giving a talk about being a referee. I was so moved by what he said because I could hear the passion in his voice. I could hear his love for the fighters and the matches that he dealt with, but also I heard compassion. And let's bring Tony on and let's get to know him. Tony, welcome to the Mischief Maker Show. I don't know if you're a mischief maker, but you will be by the end of the show.
You got it. You got it.
So, Tony, I want to put a pin in boxing for a moment, and I want to take a step back and take a look at your youth growing up. Where did you grow up? Tell me about your siblings, where you were in the family order of kids, if such an order existed in your family, and your parents, and just what it was like growing up where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and it was just my sister and I. And I had a great childhood. Growing up. In terms of boxing, I think I grew up during the perfect era of Muhammad Ali, and all the great champions, who fought, went 15 rounds, and very, distinctly remembering the first Ali Frazier fight,
Hmm.
where the world stopped to watch, and it was really captivating to me. And in actuality, that was the first time that I noticed a referee, who was Arthur McCanty at the time. And it was like, wow, what a position to be in. And I never thought, many years later, that I would be in that same position.
So, bring us from the first time that you began to think about boxing? Did you what entry point were you looking at? Just an intrigue, out kind of as a fan. What was the step between you being a fan and then beginning to think about becoming a referee?
Well, like I say, I was always a fan.
Hmm.
Like I say, with especially, like I say, with the Muhammad Ali, with that, that great era. Um, what had happened was, I at the time I was working in the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I was in charge of recreation. I was a recreation supervisor, and we had an inmate up there who was a former boxer, and I had made some arrangements for one of the local trainers to come up and speak to him. And I was always the type of person, I always thought outside the box, and I said,
Hmm.
you know what, excuse me, maybe uh, I can arrange it where we can have an exhibition.
Huh.
And so he brought up, I made all the necessary arrangements, all the security procedures and what have you, set the ring up there in the rec yard. It was on a Saturday. Now this was in the federal system. This has never been done before, and it hasn't been done since. In the state they have boxing and what have you. And what had happened was, when I set it up, and they brought up some fighters to spar. And actually I made the arrangements that the inmate could spar, and I kind of made him the main event. And I was like doing the announcing and stuff, and it dawned on me that I didn't get a referee, you know, and more so out of curiosity and security wise. I asked the trainer up there, who was at the time Beto Martinez. You mind if I get up there? And I got up there, and instantly I fell in love with it. And
Wow.
I tell you, yes, because of me watching boxing and always being passionate about the fights, and watching all the fights. Um, and what had happened was, Beto Martinez, he took it a step further, because at the end of the program he asked me if I ever done that before. I said no. He says, well, I think you should look into it. You got good natural movements. And he took it a step further and called the local athletic commission at the time. This was in Phoenix, Arizona, and said, "Hey, yeah, give this guy a shot." And they gave me a shot, and the rest is history.
Isn't that amazing how stuff like that happens?
Hmm.
Who'd
Yes,
have thunk it, right?
wouldn't
uh,
think, wouldn't in a million years.
Now, boxing is it's a matter of milliseconds, decisions that have to be made. What in life prepared you for handling pressure, for handling conflict, and that split second decision making when
Hmm.
you know you've got to make a decision and
Hmm.
someone's going to be unhappy with that decision, someone's going to be
Oh,
very
absolutely,
happy.
absolutely. It was told to me when I first started refereeing boxing, by Al Munoz, who was a old school referee. He passed away some years back, but I remember him telling me, referees aren't made; they're born.
Hmm.
And at the time, I didn't understand what he was saying, but as I got into the game, I really understood that it's something that you have to have embedded in you. The natural instincts. And I think my upbringing in the growing up in Brooklyn, in the cities, and working in the prison system, my skills in terms of being aware and making split-second decisions under difficult situations, crucial situations, really helped me. So, there's something that you have to have that in you, it's like they say, you can't train a fighter to have power. It has to have that natural power. And the same thing as a referee, he has to have that natural instinct.
So, what with that it factor that was in you, born with it? Um, in 1994, I think it was, you officiated your first professional fight.
Yes.
Can you kind of take us back to 1994? What's that about? 20, 30, 32 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
Somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
I remember it very well.
Now, what emotions were running through your mind and your heart, and just before the opening bell? What was going on inside of you?
I was just excited. I was really excited. I couldn't believe I was doing what I'm doing, and I wasn't really nervous at all. I was really excited. Um, Years later, I found out that with Beto and me, that I was a natural.
Hmm.
And going back to the boxing exhibition I put on, I actually have it on film, on tape.
Really?
And and then when I look at it today, I don't look that much different. So, yeah, I was a natural at it. Um, when you knew at something, uh, I didn't really understand at the time. When I first started, the pressure that a referee goes under. I was just more excited that I was there. I was doing it.
Hmm. It's kind of like an adrenaline rush, and after the fight, does that adrenaline leave you, or what's the after fight type of experience?
Well, it depends on what's happening in the fight, but yet, a lot of times that adrenaline's still flowing. Especially when you're in a tough fight, or you in one of those amazing fights, back and forth action. Yeah, takes time for you to calm down a little bit.
Now, is there a particular referee or a fighter that you admired and tried to perhaps even emulate early in your career?
Well, as a referee, I don't emulate fighters.
Uh huh.
Uh, yeah, but like I said, I first noticed a referee when I was watching Arthur McCanty and the
Hmm.
fight of the century with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Um, and yeah, I had great examples, starting out. You had, Arthur McCandy, as I said, the Mills Lane, the Larry Hazards, uh, Richard Steele's and those guys, so I had good people ahead of me to really show me, what it was like to be a professional referee.
Now, Rachel, Cassandra, she has written a question.
Hmm.
What was the most difficult fight you refereed and why?
Hmm. Actually, it was my first big fight when I got on in Vegas.
Hmm.
Um, it was on a Friday. It was the night before the bigger fight with Tito Trinidad and Fernando Vargas. So everybody's in town, and the fight was the rematch with Bernard Hopkins and Antoine Eccles.
Ah.
And if anybody knows Bernard, he's gonna really really test you. And that night, I was really really tested, by Bernard. And in actuality, he actually made me a better referee
Mm.
because he showed me what I can do under an intense pressure, that fight, like he pushed you through. It was very, very intense. Bernard, like I say, he's not a dirty fighter. People think he's a dirty fighter. No, he's a crafty fighter. He's an old school guy. He does little things to offset his opponent, and a lot of things were happening in that ring. And in actuality, man, I actually thought my career was through. It was if you get a chance to look that fight up, you see what I'm talking about. It was on HBO, and I was like, wow, Larry Merchant, they're gonna have a field day on this one, and but
What
actually,
year was that? What year was that?
with I think 2000, 2001, maybe somewhere
Okay,
around there. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that
Uh,
up.
Yes, it's the rematch with Bernard Hopkins and Antoine Eccles.
Hmm.
But no, it really that fight really put me on the map because, like I say, it showed it showed what I can do in the tough fight, and it showed the people what I could do in the tough fight.
So when you said he tested you, explain that. I'm just a normal guy. I like boxing as much as the next person,
Yeah,
but what does it
yeah,
mean
well,
when a referee is tested, especially
yeah,
like Bernard Hopkins?
yeah. Well, like I said, he would do little things on the opposite side of where the referee's looking at. The little tap the fight a little low, or just yeah, just little things to annoy the fighter, and which is illegal. Some illegal tactics. But
So he
yeah,
puts you on the other side of the fighter, and then he taps a little, hits away that way,
what
and you
what
can't see it.
right? I mean, you're not going to always be in position. You're going to have some blind sides. And like I say, Bernard was very, very, very crafty. So he knew if I was on the left side, that he can do something on the right side, and I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't know it. But the fighter, with his opponent would complain, and yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was just one of those fights where my skills was really, really tested.
Now later on, like I'm sure you've been at events where Bernard is there and other fighters, and they kind of come and have a sly look, like I got away with a lot with you in that fight. Do you have talk like that?
No, no,
Kind of
no, no, no.
post fights.
No, 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 not at all. I mean, it was definitely mutual respect. He respected the way I handled the fight, because I took it was I didn't take any nonsense. I didn't back down or anything. And we have a kind of a running joke with each other because I believe it was towards the later rounds. I finally had to take a point away from Bernard, and I went over to the corner, and Bernard said, a referee never said this to me before. And I looked at him, I said, Bernard, cut it out, fight like a champion. And he said when I said that, he couldn't dispute it. Fight like a champion. You're a champion. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great. Rachel, let's see. No, we got Johnny now. Johnny Canfield. Was there a decision you refereed where you felt the judges blew it?
Well, I can't comment on what the judges see because as a referee, I'm not focused on who's winning the fight. It's very hard to. I mean, sometimes you can understand the momentum of the fight, but as a judge, they have a certain criteria that they're looking at, and I can't honestly say, so and so won or so and so didn't win or what have you, because it wouldn't be an honest answer.
Now, what about? Thank you, Johnny. What about trash talking during the fight?
Mm-hmm.
How much do you allow, or do you just let it go?
Well, it depends on what they're saying. In actuality, a lot of people don't know this, but cursing is a foul.
Hmm.
You can't use foul language in to your opponent. I mean, you can say certain things. Oh, that didn't hurt. Come on, let's go. Whatever, blah blah blah. But I always keep it to a minimum because sometimes when you do have that trash talking type thing, sometimes it can get out of control, and we have to maintain that control.
And how do you do that?
Well, just insert yourself when you have to, and
Hmm.
and stand back when you don't have to. The thing about it is we give specific instructions in the dressing room before the fight,
Hmm.
and so every fighter is knows exactly what we expect, and knows exactly what's going to go on, because what we say in that locker room, we have to do it. We have to do it when we outside in that ring. So we as referees, we established our authority in actuality in that dressing room.
Wow. And so when they get in the ring, trash talking verbally is one thing, but then doing some kind of like, come on, all those types of other things. Tell me a little bit about how a fighter gets into the head of another fighter, just through body language and trash talking and other
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. Body language, he can be outboxing the guy, and the guy can't really hit him, and he's frustrated. You know, the thing like what Sugar Ray Leonard used to do, wind up and with the right hand and hit him with the jab with the left hand, and just little things like that. Frustrate a fighter, or his opponent could be tying him up too much, and we have to break them, and or sometimes we have to penalize them if they do it excessively. But they just a lot of fighters, and especially the old school trainers, they know the tricks of the trade.
Mm. Now, what separates a great boxing referee from an average one, in your opinion?
Someone, first of all, who knows the rules, but more importantly knows how to apply those rules. Someone that doesn't really insert themselves into the fight, let the fighters fight. And you hear it a lot where they say, hey, this referee did a great job. I didn't even see him, and he or she was in that ring.
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah, and like I said, and then it goes back to what I was saying before. There's something natural a fighter, excuse me, a referee has in him. And you could tell when you see certain referees how their style and how they referee. For examples, a lower level referee may stop a fight every 2 or 3 seconds, and warn them and do this, do that, and you really don't have to do that. You're interfering with the flow of the fight, so you have to know when to engage and when not to engage, and not interfere with the flow of the fight.
Do you find yourself when you're watching a boxing match on TV and you're watching the referee kind of yelling at the TV, do this, do that, or didn't see this, or what goes on in your
No,
mind as you're watching another referee doing
no,
his or her work?
no, 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 no. First of all, I know what it's like to be in there. So no, I don't yell at another referee or anything, because like I say, referee in boxing is a very, very difficult job. It's not as easy as people think it is. The bottom line is we have those two guys' lives in
Hmm.
our hands, and that's a very heavy, heavy responsibility. I always look at it as a brotherhood, or
Yes.
that we support each other. If I see something that a referee did wrong, or could have done better, or what have you, yeah, I would let them know, and vice versa, they would let me know. So it's a brotherhood, because, like I say, only another referee understands what a referee is going through in that
Hmm.
ring.
Back in the day, Jack Johnson, 1908, 1910, and on, he had in the sweet science of boxing, he kind of was had a bare knuckle stance. Is that correct? And then
Hmm.
he would pop his head back, not right or left, when someone came after him. He had the height advantage many times, most of the time at 6'2". But
Hmm.
how has that changed? And do you know of any fighters today that use the back, pulling the head back from a punch?
Well, like in anything, boxing evolved over the years. Fighters got better, trainers got better, referees got better. Uh, there's I don't really see it, today, because the fighters of today are definitely more skilled
Hmm.
in their techniques, and slipping punches and dodging punches, and what have you. So, and it's a continuous thing. It's boxing is continual is evolving as a sport.
Hmm. Well, let's see. We have Bob Hoffman. He says, "Did you ever referee a fight with Vitali Klitschkov,
Klitschko,
Klitschko,
Klitschko.
who never truly lost his title in the ring and finished his career with a fearsome 45-2 record?"
I refereed his brother, uh, actually a few times. Actually, I refereed him when in the O2 Arena in Germany, when he lost to Tyson Fury.
Hmm.
Yeah, I never refereed Vitali.
We're going to come back. We're at the top of the hour here, and we're going to take a break for our sponsor. But when we come back, I want to talk about you officiating your first title fight. What was the difference between a local fight and the championship level bout in your experience? So Mel, let's do uh, I think we have I can't remember who we have on tonight. I think it's Pancho Villa.
Hola, I'm Pancho Villa with a terrible accent. I tried to finance a fight for Jack Johnson in 1914, but it didn't work out. No problemo. Order! Jack Johnson speaks. It's an order. Get it? It's an order.
20,000 showed for a fight that was promising. July 4th would go down as timeless. To talk about it, I'd be on it. But why listen to me when you can hear it straight from Jack Johnson? The 15th round right now in his own voice.
Welcome to the fight of the century. In this corner, we have...
Well, we have our sponsor is Rosetta Universe, and this is a little bit of information about the Rosetta Universe. If you go to the QR code above, you will the first point on the link tree is about the Rosetta Universe. But one thing that I designed, and Tony has actually held one of these in his hands, is the championship belt in honor of Jack Johnson. I designed this. I guess it was I think it's last summer. And this belt here is now, we're only making 700 of these. And the only way, capital ONLY, the only way to acquire one of these is by providing a donation to the Rosetta Universe project. And this is our way, our tangible, and I'd say extravagant way of saying thank you for donating to the Rosetta Universe. And after the 700 belt is gone, we will then destroy the mold, destroy the design, never to reappear. So thank you so much for watching. Pancho Villa, by the way, has a voice like this, a very terrible accent. But it's true that he tried to fund the fight in Cuba. Actually, it was Mexico, and then it moved to Cuba. But the president didn't want that to happen. So anyway, we're back with Tony. And Tony, if we could talk about the difference between a regional fight and a heavyweight championship fight, something that at another level. You touched on a little bit, but what was the difference that you realize between those two?
Well, ironically, I remember when I got on in Vegas, and we were in a meeting with the referees, and I asked Richard Steele. I said, "What is the difference between a major world title fight and a regular boxing match?" He said, "There's no difference," and I agree. Now that I look at it, because and let me explain. It's the same fight in terms of the guys throwing a jab, right hook, grabbing, whatever the situation is. The only difference is the magnitude, and that, as a referee, we cannot get caught up in that.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot get caught up in the magnitude of the fight. It's the same fight, We understand the importance of it. There's no question about it, But there's no different. There's the fighters are not doing anything different than fighters that are doing an 8-rounder or a
Mm-hmm.
6-rounder. It's the same fight. The skill level is definitely different. Absolutely. But you have to look at it in terms of we don't get caught up in all the hoopla of the fight in the fan fail. We're not fans.
Mm-hmm.
We're there to do a job. So it's the same fight. And it's funny too because when I started in Phoenix, I used to pretend that I was doing a major fight. And, Phoenix, had these small bars. You had like 25 people there, and what have you. And I used to pretend, that Jimmy Landon is calling my name or Michael Buffer's calling my name, and at the time I thought I was just fantasizing about boxing. excuse me, but looking back at it, I was actually preparing myself mentally for it.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is I look at every fight as a championship fight
Yes.
because it is someone's championship fight, and every fighter that steps through those ropes, every fighter, at no matter what level, they're laying the ultimate on the line.
And they're proving themselves so they could go to the next level. So to them, it's a championship fight every single time. And I thank you for your the way you honor that in the
Mm,
fighters. That's a wonderful thing.
absolutely.
Now, during the Corrales versus Castillo fight, did you realize in that moment you're witnessing boxing history?
When you're going through a fight like that in real time, this is a fight, you know, but you can't really grasp the magnitude of it. You know, when you look at that fight, it was a very even fight, back and forth action, back and forth act. Corrales gets hurt, Castillo gets hurt, vice versa, and you know, it really didn't dawn on me until afterwards when everybody was talking about it. We want to get interviews and once again going back to the adrenaline thing. My adrenaline was so high. It's like I couldn't sleep that night
Hmm.
after the fight. But it really didn't hit me until afterwards when I, saw that, wow, what an event that I was into, that I was privileged to be in with these two great champions.
Mm. Now, when pro basketball players, pro fighters, I'm sure, and pro football players, they watch tapes of their opponents. Do you watch yourself to see what you're missing and to applaud what you did well and to take a note of what you could improve from A to A plus?
Oh, absolutely. I critique I'm my own worst critic.
Hmm.
You critique yourself. What you may not see as an outsider or a fan, so to speak. I know that, oh, I should have did this, or I should have done that. Yeah, we're constantly critiquing ourselves, and we're constantly trying to improve. We have seminars all the
Hmm.
time, and this is ironically, I'm getting ready. I'm doing a seminar at the IBF convention in Ho Chi Minh City this coming week, and yeah, so we're constantly training ourselves to stay sharp.
Now, in those seminars, I know I listened to a little bit of what you said at the Muhammad Ali camp in
Mm.
Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. Can you kind of take us back into that place? Was it back in February, late February, early March, and share a little bit about what you communicated at that event
Uh,
about
fir-
being a referee?
yeah, well, first of all, that was my first time at Muhammad Ali's training camp in
Oh,
Deer Lake,
really? Oh,
Pennsylvania.
my goodness!
Yes,
Wow, that's
yes,
hallowed ground.
and you talk about fighters heaven. I was on heaven,
Yes.
and actually, my cousin and I, we got to spend the night in the cabins, and it was a
Oh,
phenomenal
my
event.
goodness.
History. We're right there where history happened, and you know but it's no different. Like I say, in any seminar I do, I kind of touch on a lot of things. The only difference was, um, I wasn't at the training camp. I wasn't training other referees. I was enlightening the fans on a lot of the rules and regulations and stuff, with what to look for in the fight, and why we do this and why we do that.
So when you're watching yourself and you're critiquing, kind of bring us in the room, and what is it? What are some of the fine points that you see about uh, your performance
Mhm.
that has needed to be tweaked? Just so we
Well,
get a sense of what you experience.
yeah, like I say, when you're in the ring, positioning is very important.
Hmm.
But we know and understand that we're not going to always be in position because the fighters are moving. We adjusting to the fighters and what have you. And I just see little things. Well, I could have moved to the left or more to the right, or I should have broke them up earlier, and let them mix it up a little more. Just little things, that I see and notice, as a referee. Because once again, like I say, you it takes experience, and wisdom to know, when and when not to interfere with the fight, and not assert yourself in the fight.
Now, when you stop a fight and you know the heart of that fighter, you have to stop.
Mhm.
Um, what do you look for?
Mhm.
And because we've seen fights where someone looks like they're absolutely out of it, and then they somehow resurrect, somehow resurrect, and then they come through on the other side and win the
Yeah,
fight.
yeah. Well, a la Gotti Ward, uh, those two guys, like I said, that's what really makes our job really, really difficult.
Hmm.
It's a very, very fine line, because number one, uh, in our position, yeah, we enforce the rules and regulations, but nothing, absolutely nothing, goes above safety,
Yes, yes.
of the fighters. And in stopping a fight, depends on what's happening. In other words, no, is it one sided, or is it a slugfest like the Corrales Castillo fight, and one guy is getting hurt, or one guy gets knocked down, and it's how they get knocked down. Are they falling flat on their face? Are they struggling to get up? Do they have any injuries, swollen eyes shut?
Mhm.
There's a lot of little factors in there that we as referees look, to stop a fight.
We have Fred Johnson is asking, how are referees chosen for a bout?
The
Thank you, Fred.
commission, yeah, the commission chooses. They can, for example, a major title fight. They can give both camps, let's say, here's three names of three referees, and the other have three names, and they can choose, but not necessarily that they get who they want.
Hmm.
But so the commission has the final say so on who referees or officiates that fight.
Is it a referee union?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. So you just if you get chosen for a fight, you get paid. If you're not chosen, you don't get paid. The type of thing.
Yeah, right. You don't get paid for that fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, have you ever talked with a referee where someone died in the ring,
Hmm.
and how does someone process that?
It's very, very difficult. I had a fighter that passed away, Lavender Johnson, who passed away. He didn't pass away in the ring. He passed away days later in the hospital, and it's very, very traumatic. Uh, uh, when something like that happens, and it's human nature to question yourself. Should I have done this or should I have done that? And like I say, and that's another thing, that one of the things that makes our job so hard and so difficult, is because it's a fine line. You don't want to take something away from a fighter, but you also want that fighter to be able to go home to their family. Uh, and but it's just one of those things that it really, really hurts you, and it can affect you in terms of, hey, do I still want to do this, because it's
Yeah.
something of that nature, is very, very traumatic on you.
Criticism is a big part of being a referee.
Hmm.
How do you develop a thick skin and still retain a tender heart and don't lose your humanity in the
Hmm.
process?
Well, it's just like people always coming to me, man. I want to be a referee. I want to be like you. I want you to do this. I said, first of all, understand what you're getting into, and know and understand you're going to be susceptible to criticism, both fair and unfair. Mostly, a lot of times, unfair.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is, when you're a professional at your job, and your professionalism can bring you through. Even though, if you made a mistake, you know that you're human like
Hmm.
anybody else. No one on this earth is picture perfect. But you also know and understand that a lot of the people who are criticizing you don't know what your job is about, don't know what it's like to be in that ring, don't not they're not trained like we're trained to officiate a fight. So and you don't. For me personally, I don't read anything in the news or in the papers or in tabloids or what have you, social media, because those things are going to happen. People going to have their opinion on everything. You can do the absolute correct thing, and somebody's not going to be happy.
Opinions are like armpits. Everyone's got two of them, and they stink most of the time, right?
That's it. Yeah.
um, I'm just thinking about the, I was one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. I started in 1978 to 1998, 20 seasons working with NBA athletes.
Hmm.
And back in that day, I call that the glory years of the
Hmm.
NBA because you had the Larry
Hmm.
Birds, the Magic Johnsons, and
Hmm.
Michael Jordans, and everything else. And he could almost run on autopilot.
Hmm.
Nowadays, I mean, back in the day in boxing, you could clearly identify the Joe Frazier's, the Muhammad Ali's, the Evander Holyfields, and it seems like today, as a fan, I just something's missing.
Hmm.
Do you have a response to that? Has it
Well,
lost its luster?
well, it's definitely a different era, and I think back in the glory days, so to speak, you had a lot of the fighters came up hungry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fighters came up from nothing,
Yeah.
and so there's a different motivation. There's a different hunger, and you don't see that today because a lot of these fighters, they don't come from that type of background. You and when you have that situation where you come from nothing, yeah, you're going to be more motivated to train. You're going to be more motivated to win the fight. And all of a sudden, also, it was a big difference in going 15 rounds as opposed to
Mm,
12 rounds.
mm. Explain that difference of those 3 rounds.
Oh, wait, those 3 rounds from 13 to 15, was called the championship rounds because it separated, the great ones from the great ones from the great ones. Those were the rounds that fighters really had to dig down deep and really pull it out, really show what they have in you. And on top of that, there's a different type of training that you do.
Hmm.
And when you're training for a 15 round fight as opposed to a 12 round fight, is a different. You're training differently.
So, in those last 12 to 15th rounds, what training would be different to prepare for something like that? And first of all, why did that change? They change the rules from 15 to 12?
I think there was a lot of injuries or ring deaths, I believe, that was happening in those 3 or 4 rounds in the championship fight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to have more and definitely have more in the gas tank.
Mm-hmm.
To go those additional rounds, especially when you are in a tough fight. Um, you look at all the Ali Frazier fights. That was a tremendous pace for 15
Yes.
rounds for heavyweights.
Yes. Yes.
To go, so you are in supreme condition to go in those extra rounds because you're gonna need that. You're gonna, yeah. So I know the training is more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe instead of training 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
For a title 15 round title fight.
Now, some of the high profile fights, like a Floyd Mayweather, I know you have to be immune to pressure, external pressure.
Hmm.
You're dealing with internal pressure.
Hmm.
But still, the media, the fans, the promoters, the TV executives, all of the pressure from without is almost unbearable. I can imagine.
Hmm.
How do you deal with all that?
You know, I've always said there's a short run and there's a long run. What I mean by that, you can, you can succumb to that, and maybe the favorite fighter may win.
Hmm.
But in the long run, when people look back at that, they say they can see where no, yeah, you could have done a little more. You could have, or you could have done better. My philosophy was, no matter who's in that ring, I'm going to be fair to both fighters.
Hmm.
So and I understand the pressure. People, the promoters, they want their guy to win. There's a lot at stake, money wise and fame wise and everything else. But the bottom line is, people in the long run, people will recognize, so and so, he or she was fair in those big fights.
Now, if you look at referees in the NFL, referees in baseball, basketball, soccer, what's the difference there? I know it's the obvious. You got your one referee in the ring, and there's
Hmm.
no one else to look at other shots and stance have different views.
Hmm.
But are there any other similarities that you would experience as a referee in these other sports?
The only other similarities, yeah, the criticism, you know, the criticism. Yeah, in boxing, there's only three people in that ring.
Yeah.
In basketball, football, you have a team
Yes.
of officials where when a controversial call is made or a difficult call, you can huddle up, with your colleagues and discuss it. You know, we have to make that decision right there on the spot.
Mm. Wow. So when you're dealing with a Floyd Mayweather or someone else as a referee, sometimes going back to your other comment that like a referee in basketball might let Michael Jordan take 3 steps to make allow him to travel a little bit to let it go by. Has that ever entered your mind as you in your early years, especially?
No, no,
No.
yeah, not like I say, not at all. Because, like I say, it may look okay when you're doing it, but in the long run, when people look back at it and say, No, okay, yeah, yeah, you might have favored that guy,
Hmm.
or like you say, oh, Michael, he might have took that was a foul, or he walked, or what have you. No, you have to have the courage uh, to make those difficult calls, and no matter who it is, if it's the face of boxing or whoever the fighter is, you have to make the call because, like I say, history will show that no, he or she was fair.
Hmm. Now, what have you noticed about, let's say, Floyd Mayweather's ring IQ up close that
Hmm.
a viewer on TV would not fully appreciate?
Oh yeah, it's spectacular defense. The movement. Just that famous shoulder roll where fighters are right there on him but can't really hit him. And it's deflecting off off of his shoulder. Like I say, he's just very, 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 very skilled fighter. Yeah, especially in the defensive area.
In 2017, there was a fight between was it Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, the second, I think, and it was extremely heated and controversial. Can you kind of bring us in the ring what you were experiencing during that fight?
That was just one of those things, like I say, where Kovalev thought some of the punches were low, but a lot of the
Hmm.
punches were right on the belt. I remember early in the fight where one punch was right on the belt line, and he kind of winced, and it kind of showed me that, oh, I don't know if he could take it to the body, you know. Uh, and like I say, once again, it's a very, very difficult thing, fine line there. You have to make that split second,
Mhm.
decision whether something was low or something was legal or illegal, And but it's just one of those fights, What is you're always going to have some type of controversy in a fight.
Mhm. Now, what is the biggest misconception that boxing fans may have about a referee working in a major championship fight?
And what you mean in terms of what?
Just a misconception about a referee. How you function in a fight like that, and the calls that you make, and how you the decisions that you make.
Well, I always say this, and this goes for any official. They don't look at us as being human.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, you have to get it right every single time out. You have to get it right every single time. And like I say, we're human. That's not going to happen. So people don't really look at us that way, because they can. When we dealing with something in real time, the action is so fast and so quick. And then when it showed on the replay in slow motion or in 5 different angles, to the average fan, oh, how did he miss that? Blah blah blah. But they don't understand the difficulty in there.
What We only have about 2 minutes left here, but what advice would you give to a young kid coming up to you and saying, like you said, people come to you all the time and looking for advice? What advice would you give a young kid wanting to
Well, like
become a referee?
well, like I say, first thing I'll say, understand what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Understand that you're going to be susceptible to a lot of criticism, a lot of things, a lot of. It's a very, very pressure situation. But you have to have a love and respect for the sport.
Yes.
Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the fame. You're not going to make it. It's not going to work. Get in the gym. Get behind a mentor that
Hmm.
that you know and trust that can help you hone your skills as a referee, and usually start out the amateur ranks and just work your way up. But just have a love and respect for the sport, and get in that sport for the right reason.
Hmm. As you look back on 30 years, now a couple years back, with 2024, you retired.
No,
What
actually, I have to correct you on that. I'm still
Okay.
refereeing.
Oh, I sit corrected on that one.
I- I'm
Uh,
still I'm still refereeing. Yes.
oh, that's great. I'm pleased to
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah.
As you look back on your career, um, what is the lowest point and what is the highest point?
Well, I could say, the lowest point, is a fighter losing his life. You know,
Mhm.
you can't get any lower than that. And of course, the highest point where thing was, being blessed with a fight like Corrales and Castillo, that is a history making fight that people still talk about today.
Well, thank you so much. We're bumping right up on the top of the hour here, Tony. It has been such a treat. Thank you for taking time out of your crazy schedule. You're going to be in Vietnam next week, and we're just so pleased and honored that you're here today. Thanks.
But no, thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me and giving me a platform to express myself as a referee, and maybe enlighten some of the fans, and what it's all about, and some of the things that we go through.
Thank you.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.